to a new episode of Bugle Battleport, Wasson, number 2. This week, we're going to be talking Age of Sigmar. So if you're new to the hobby, or you're interested in getting into it, we're going to be discussing all sorts. Also talk a little bit of Blood Bowl. So, let's see who we got on the channel this week.
What's on, boys?
What's on?
So, Age of Sigmar this week.
Yeah.
So, you all introduce yourselves. Obviously, two of you is going to be familiar from some battle ports. Should we start with Steve?
All right, yeah. So you've seen me on the channel, the little game. Most playing Siege, got a bit of history with Khorne as well. Still got that. I even paint a little bit of Nighthawk now and then as well. Not really brought it to the table yet, but I've even got some Stormcast kicking around. So I've been in and out of the hobby for about 20 odd years or so. A lot of that time just been painting, but yeah, I mean, since I was, very young or so. Yeah, so there we are. That's me.
Mike, you'll go next.
So, yeah, some of you might see me for the channel, getting beaten by Martin.
Yours is one of our most popular videos. No fairness. Yeah.
Best looking army, see? So,
it was very well painted.
But yeah, so used to be into the hobby with 40k 20 odd years ago. Painted a few models, never really played, and then probably about three to 4 years ago, my brother cleared his garage out and found some of my old stuff, gave it to me, and instantly started it up again. Started as a painter, and in the last 2 years, thank you to Mr. Matthew Beer, I've started playing as well, which has brought a whole new aspect to the hobby. And yeah.
And then finally, the silver-haired fox.
Oh, I really knew you were going there as well. Yeah, so hi, I'm Matt. I've been gaming now for 23 years. Started off with 40k, did a lot of 40k in my youth. Lots of Baeltan, Eldar, and Blood Angels. But then realised that fantasy was better. Controversial, I know. Played most of the armies sort of during fantasy, and then just before AOS launched, I actually moved across to Privateer Press's games. Played lots of War Machine Hordes. Was a press gang of Privateer Press. So ran a lot of fairly beefy events in Cornwall and sort of the rest of the southwest. And then came back and was just painting quite a bit, and thought, do you know what, I want to start playing again. So approached Vinny Mad Miniatures and said, can I get a bit of an Age of Sigmar scene going? And here you all are.
And you ended up luring some 40k players over.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, when it comes to sort of hobby at the moment, I'm probably most known for being a bit of a hobby butterfly. So I like to have at least 17 projects on the go simultaneously. A new one is starting tonight, which is quite exciting. A really, really big project.
Oh, I've already got it. You?
I've got part of it, and there's some more on its way to my house as we speak. It could even arrive on this call. Oh, and he breaks the curtains. There we go. Yeah, so I had a big power gaming phase when I was playing War Machine and Hordes, but in Age of Sigmar, I'm very much for fun, as Martin will attest from playing my Skaven army.
Don't even go there.
I mean, I don't think you find a more fun and engaging experience in playing against Skaven, do you?
Disgusting. So yeah, obviously, how long ago was it now? 2 years ago when you started the whole Age of Sigmar?
So I think I gave the local scene a kick about 2 years ago. I think it's fair to say it's exploded, and I think what's really good is it's actually maintained that momentum during COVID.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So
I think social media's had a massive effect on that, hasn't it? We've all kept in contact. We've all been able to sort of say, oh, well, I'm getting on with this and so on. And we're all sort of G'ing each other up and going, yeah, hey, that's brilliant, and so on. It's really nice.
A prime example is that November lockdown. Mike and I had that bit of banter at the beginning of it, and then both ended up paying 1,000-point army in the course of 4 weeks.
Yeah. absolutely.
But yeah, that's
obviously, like for myself, I never played fantasy, and the only reason I got in Sigma was because you were poaching some of us 40k players over.
And do you know, I was so efficient at coaching. Am I right in thinking that our first game, I was actually wearing a suit?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. straight
well
straight
prepared.
out of work, suited and booted, smashed his face with my corn, and then went back to work.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people start Age of Sigma because of the painting and the modeling.
Mhm.
From what I see, obviously Age of Sigma got a lot more, obviously fantasy models. It's like orcs and dragons and demons and all sorts, rather than just your 40k Space Marines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I'd much rather paint a dragon than a tank any day of the week.
Yeah, I was just about to chip in to say that I think with all of the range, like if you were going to go up against something like the Space Marine, whereas there's only one way to paint a Space Marine, but there's so many ways you can paint every single model in Age of Sigmar. You can put your own little twist on things. You can go completely the other way, and I just think there's that much more freedom when it comes to painting your army.
Not only that, obviously myself being a 40k player here, the meta in 40k changes all the time. So it's very rare you actually see fully painted armies.
Yeah.
I think in Sigma it's a lot more balanced. The meta doesn't really change like that. So you actually see everyone with fully painted armies.
And I think the thing is, there's also a lot of people that are prepared to risk not really being top of the meta. Loads of people are prepared to play just, fluffy lists just for the hell of it. Yeah. And a lot of us will know that they won't necessarily do that well, but I like the model, so I'm going to paint it. And that's a great driver for it.
Yeah, rule of course.
Absolutely.
I think one of the best things about, the word meta was used there. I think one of the best things about our local group is the fact that it's a very different meta to what you're seeing on the internet at the moment. So no one's just pulled, well, they've been one or two who tried to pull lists off the internet and it's just not been very effective. But if you look at the lists that are doing well, they're not the ones that are normally at the top. So you don't tend to see Skaven at the top anymore.
You had to bring them up.
I need to bring them up because I know Martin's particularly passionate about them. And the lists that the players, the last event. So yes, Bone Reapers came top, but it was Crematorians. It wasn't Petrifexily. It wasn't Mortis Praetorians. And I think the sort of the second sort of top scoring player when we went to the final was using Legions in the Gash.
Yeah, one of the oldest books we've got, really, isn't it? So it's
yeah.
It was just a table for the skeletons.
But that is itself like it's like pure genius. I've always wanted to tell David it is genius, and I'm surprised you don't see more players like that at, let's say, the big tournaments or that, because unless you have an army that's going to kill it in the first round, you're screwed at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's just it. A lot of people just can't handle painting that many skellies, which is
I think contrast might change that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's bad enough doing 80 skinks here.
Blue.
Yeah.
I've got an agenda tonight, guys. Martin is already aware of this, but Steve and Mike, I'd like you to help me tonight to get Martin to start his second Age of Sigmar army.
Okay.
It's definitely doable, isn't it? It's
for me, for Sigma, how I started, I literally went mad for miniatures, looked at the shelf, read, lizards on dinosaurs. That'll do.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Yeah, can't argue with that.
Well, for
me, Sigma, I know nothing. I don't know nothing about fantasy, never played it. All I know, there was some elves or some dragons or something back in the day. And that's it. That's some square bases.
So it seems to me that low model count is what you would like then. So because you don't really want to paint that much.
Stormcast.
Something like ogres,
Stormcast, yes.
Stormcast, yeah.
I own enough Marines as it is.
Oh, well.
Yeah. So
on the topic of starting a new army, so say somebody's watching this who's never played Sigma, maybe they've played 40k, what would be your advice to get them started into Sigma? Where to start?
Well, I would probably say unless you're going Dwarven, because from what I understand the rules are quite different. But unless you're going Dwarven, there's almost like a like for like army that you would like in the opposite world, if you know what I mean. Like so, I said,
Yeah.
you have Stormcasters, your Space Marines, you have the Drakari is now the Dark Elves have come back. I mean, there's so many different things. I mean, obviously Death's its own thing, but then you have if you used to like the Necrons, then I suppose you could reprise an old Tomb King's army or something.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're Necron obsessed, Ossiarch Bone Reapers are definitely the way forward.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
If you're just looking to move across from 40k and have a fresh start in Age of Sigmar, maybe just want to learn the game, then very similar to 40k, they've got those starter boxes. So you've got Soul Wars, Tempest of Souls, and I cannot remember for the life of me what the third one's called, but a smaller one. And they've got those battle mats in there. They've got all of the starter rules. They've got the push fit models. Yes, Stormcast and Night Haunt, they might not be your cup of tea, but for the price of those boxes to get a grip on the rules, actually they're a good shout.
Yeah,
that's how I started. I don't know about Steve, but the starter box tournament that you organised.
Yeah, I think that may well have been my first one, or yeah.
It was, Steve. I believe we had each other first round.
Yeah, I mean, I'd been painting for years, and I got bits and pieces kicking around, but that was the first one that got me gaming. Yeah, so that was.
When Vinny asked me, he said, "How do you think we can get this going?" I said, "Well, the trick will be really, really low accessible points with really, really simple rules." So I said, "Okay, we'll have one of the battalion boxes, also one of the, not battalion. God, that's showing my age now, isn't it? One of the start collecting boxes, or the equivalent from one of the starter sets. So be that Tempest of Souls." And the idea is that everyone came along with one of those. Vinny had a few painted out. I think, Mike, you painted out one of those, didn't you, for Vinny? So a few in store if anyone didn't have their own. I mean, fortunately, everyone was like, "No, I'm going to go and buy my own stuff and smash face with it." And that was a good event. The Daughters one at the time was a bit unbalanced, I think it's probably fair to say. It came in at 300-400 points more than every other one. But again, it was a really, really good day, and it was good to see so many people playing Age of Sigmar again, or playing Age of Sigmar full stop, because the fantasy scene in sort of the shop had sort of died off. A few people had tried to sort of give AOS a kick, but it wasn't happening. And it's just grown from strength to strength. I mean, we have had a number of really successful COVID-safe sort of games now. So we've had a whole tournament in that COVID-safe environment. And we're midway through the 1750 points one, which obviously we've had to put on hold completely at the moment. But again, we've had some really good games. My Skaven even got a draw in the last round, which Martin was happy to hear about. They didn't win.
Me and Steve faced each other. Well,
it was such a stalemate, wasn't it? You know, you daren't attack the other side because you knew two teleporting armies that have got massive tar pits. It's if you jump on the other side, you're going to lose. So it's
similar with Dave and I. So I had my gnaw holes. He had grave sites. And neither of us really wanted to move. He tried to bring 40 skeletons up in front of my Skaven line. And Martin, you know what happens in Skaven shooting phase, don't you? One Skaven is, and those skeletons are disintegrated. But again, I couldn't risk moving off that line, because as soon as I stopped sort of having Skaven spread out all over the place, he could just bring in his skeletons, and he did have a lot more bodies than me, and he could keep bringing them back, because Legions and Nagash suck. He says
there'll be a new book soon, surely.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think for myself, obviously playing both games, I like sometimes if you get hit on a brick wall, hobby ban out. If you get on a 40k, it's quite nice just to switch over to Sigma and just play a less competitive game.
Oh,
I
feel that was an attempted bait And it was attempted. I'm sorry you feel that Age of Sigmar is less competitive, Martin.
Well, I would probably argue it's the players that make it more competitive rather than the game itself. But
I think one of the things, everyone please pay special attention to Martin's face when I say this, but I think one of the best mechanics in Age of Sigmar is the double turn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your ability to plan for both sides of that, I think, really sort of measures your mettle as a gamer and as a general. So knowing full well that actually you don't necessarily have the control of what's about to happen, what can you do for both flips of the coin, I think is what makes the game interesting.
Unless you have RK on.
Unless you have RK on, then you know what's going to happen.
On that note, quite recently, 40k's gone to start a game, you roll off, whoever wins the roll off now goes first. There's no going, I'll just point it like this so you can go first and stuff like this now. So it's very much random. What don't like with Sigma is the whole like battalions, one dropped and stuff like that. And then you decide in first or second.
See, I quite like them because a lot of them, rules-wise and theme-wise, are quite interesting. I mean, some of the armies that have got the worst battalions, so Skaven, for example, there is no way I can feasibly fit any of those battalions into any of my armies. So I've got to accept the fact that my Skaven army is going to be at least 379 drops. So there's no way I'm ever going to choose first turn. But the time you'll see people taking lots of battalions are in those armies that really need it. So again, I think it's a way of balancing it. So if we take my Lumineth, for example, and I mentioned earlier that I'm a hobby butterfly. Essentially, I do just collect Age of Sigmar. So you will probably hear me referring to several different armies over the course of this.
Have you got more than one? Have you, Matt? I didn't know that.
So my Lumineth list, for example, my 1751's got Teclis and a battalion. It's a 2-drop army. But if that army doesn't go first, Teclis dies. It's that simple. And if it does go first, there will be a sort of a bubble appearing around my army. Will keep Teclis relatively safe, and then it'll be death by arrows and stuff.
So it's would you say a lot of some armies which are like the one dropped are very much alpha strike? Like
I'd say less alpha strike, but very much alpha move. So if that makes sense, so they're not necessarily going to be hitting you turn one, but they need to do stuff to themselves. They need to buff themselves turn one to be able to then do what they need to do for the rest of the game. Yeah. So there are certain Zinch builds again that you need to have that first turn, not necessarily to beat face, but to be able to get yourself prepared for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Counter to that, there's also the whole other side of things. It depends on your opponent. I mean, you will find that there are some opponents where you want them to go first because you know there's nothing much that they can do on the first turn, and they're just going to close in on you, and then you've got a potential to hit them hard, and then potential of a double turn, and that's it, game over almost. So
it's one of the reasons I love my Skaven, because I don't care if I go first or second, and there's not a single model in that army that isn't expendable. Literally, I do not care what dies, and I do not care whether I go first or second, because there is a plan. And I mean, anyone who's sort of played that list or played a sort of a derision of that list, I know Martin loves it. It's quite flexible in its approach.
Yeah. It's also very fluffy for Skaven, being as you don't care what dies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So controversial one now. Do we think Age of Sigmar has too much shooting? How often do you come up against like a whole shooting army versus a combat army, and first turn all they can do is move up a little bit and get shot to pieces?
I think it's a constantly evolving game, so there will be times when there's more shooting, and as new books come out and new units come out, then it will balance it. So I think, there will be times when there is, and there'll be times when there isn't. So.
Oh,
Lost him.
Maybe he really didn't like that question, Mark.
That much flesh, it just.
That was coming.
Lovely.
That's right. Okay.
Where's the one Vinny started that you're going to finish?
Yeah, so it's another one of them and some more of them.
Nice, yeah. So have you thought about what tribe you're going to go for then?
I'm definitely going down the old Taker tribe.
I knew it.
That's
It's
the
gonna
one
be
you were
evil
talking
to
about
face.
last night, Steve. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Why did you think that, Steve?
I don't know. Sit on objectives and deny everything. It's such a strong tribe. It is. It's
I'm
just
gonna take this. No, you're not.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just. I don't know though. I mean, it would be nice to see Gargants going out and just smashing things more though. I mean, I think I've sort of read up on it, and I think there's some builds that could actually be pretty nasty. You know, that aren't that strong in the objectives. Because I mean, the basic army allegiance anyhow is already quite strong on objectives anyhow. So obviously, I mean, the sensible thing to do is to take your strengths and make them stronger. That does make a lot of sense. That's why Taker works so well. But it would be fun to see Gargants just going out and smashing the hell out of things.
Which is why I'm glad you said that. So if I was going to a tournament and I was being that person, I just wanted to be hyper competitive, I'd definitely be bringing my Ostearch Bone Reapers. These guys are very much going to be for shits and giggles, for a better phrase. So they're going to be for me to be able to kick objectives around the board and throw rocks at people whilst looking cool. So you definitely will see 3 Mega Gargants running across the table as fast as they can, hopefully dragging Kradron Overlord's boats out of the sky. Yeah. Throwing things at large purple dinosaurs.
How dare you mention Barney?
Yeah, but they're a weird kind of army because you would think that the Mega Gargants were the real hard hitters, but it's not really relative to points. It's the Man Crushers. It's very confusing, you know.
Yeah, but they do have some of the coolest named magic items, I think, in the game. Some of the coolest artifacts and rules. To quote a few of my favourites. So I should have had this prepared. But I'm for example, I'm a firm fan of the Kraken skin sandals.
Yeah.
What's
The
it
glowy
bag?
lantern.
I love the glowy lantern. That's nice. That is.
Old and gnarly. What a rule! I mean, going by Martin's descriptions, it should definitely have old and gnarly.
Yeah.
Although I'm not, I'm obviously going to take monstrously tough, because who wouldn't want 40 wounds on their general? Yeah.
That sounds pretty savage. Yeah.
I was saying this earlier to Martin before we started. I had the Sons of Bahamut book and the Stormcast books next to each other earlier, because I'm paying a lot of Stormcast at the moment as well, because Stormcast. 2021 is going to be the year for Stormcast, just so you know. I made a vow that I was going to win a local tournament of Stormcast at some point this year, so your cards are marked. But yeah, so this is obviously, you can tell they're very, very new, because if you can look at the thickness of that battle tome.
It's like, is there anything there?
Don't get me wrong, what is in there is good. It's really good, and there's some really, really quite funny bits, especially in the painting guides. I don't know if you've noticed in some of the paint guides recently, they've been sneaking in some little comedy bits. There's a few in the corn one. There's a part in here where it's giving you instructions on how to paint a drowned body. And it's so base coat with race bone. Then try to forget that you're painting a tiny dead body for recreational purposes.
Very nice.
So yeah, just things like that. So I don't know, I'm enjoying the book. It was a shock to see it. You know, it's sat with all my other books, and it looks a little slim, which is not what you'd expect for a Son of Bahamut.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I don't think there's a large section at the back for War Scroll cards, is there, to be fair?
The War Scroll cards is an equally interesting package. Yeah.
So, getting back to what we was talking about with shooting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, shooting. Yeah.
Before we done disappearing act. How do you think they can balance it? Because I definitely think out there shooting armies are a bit overpowered. I believe each of us has a shooting army here.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I don't think you can call Skaven a shooting army. I'm going to take offence at you even implying that my Skaven are a shooting army. They sometimes like to cause bad things to happen from a distance, but often go wrong.
themselves.
No, if I'm honest, so there are a lot more ranged options now than there were at the start. But there are also lots of ways around it. My favourite one is having those units that either come on reserve or things teleporting or dropping out of nowhere. And there are more and more of them now. So there are ways and means now to get around. Don't get me wrong, no one wants to be on the other side of that ridiculous wall of Hellstorm rocket batteries. It sucks, but there are ways around it. So play the objectives.
yeah.
You say play objectives, but when you lose your army turn one with shooting, what can you do?
Well, I would probably argue and say that there isn't. You say there's balance. There's probably arguably a way that 99% of the Age of Sigmar armies you could actually build a shooting list with. You could build a shooting heavy Stormcast list. Yeah, I mean, Fire Slayers, they throw, all of them shoot with their little axes they throw.
Game, didn't it, Mike?
Yeah. But like Seraphon, they would never renowned as a shooting army, and then look what happened.
I think the one exception to that is probably Khorne, because if you try it with Khorne will frown on you. You shouldn't be doing it. And two, skull cannon isn't great, really.
Get some skull cannon.
Skull cannon is just doesn't cut it
against me, and every time we tried to fire it, missed.
Yeah, it's one shot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no.
Well, it looks good.
It looks good, and
the
cool. Trick with the skull cannon is actually it is not a cannon; it's a chariot that happens to have a cannon on top.
Yeah,
that's the thing with it. But...
So what I see online is a lot of people from the fantasy era or wherever don't like how it's moving into Age of Sigmar. The more the old school players, they don't like the shooting and they don't like more simpler rules. That's what I often see.
I don't know. I think there are so many options out there to change it. I mean, even with Khorne. I mean, I look at Khorne. Okay, and I was chatting. They don't have shooting really, but then they do have options to get troops over to the other side pretty darn quick. I can do a turn one charge with Khorne, and Khorne are not a fast army, So it's
Draw tide.
Yeah, exactly. It's gore tide. Shove something in your front line, distract you, and then the rest of the army will be over shortly. And also just make use of terrain as much as you can. That little that extra save makes a world of difference. So it's
And don't get me wrong, I loved fantasy. I loved the fluff. Invested loads into the Black Library stuff. Really, really did love that background. And when, like I said, I went across the War Machine Hordes when it all sort of first happened, and actually I've spent time listening to a lot of the new Black Library stuff, reading a lot of the books, and I really like where they're going, and I like the potential for things to change. Phil Kelly's been writing a few articles recently in White Dwarf around sort of the Age of Myth, the Age of Chaos, and now the Age of Sigmar. And it is a really interesting read. And if anyone's ever on the fence, just listen to Soul Wars. If you're not a big reader, just listen to it, because I challenge anyone to listen to that book and not want to start a Stormcast or Nighthaunt army.
Yeah,
it's the same with Plague Guard. That Plague Guard is one of Mike's favourites, and I'm re-listening to it again at the moment. To the point that my Hammers of Sigmar are also now shouting Only the Faithful.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, and that is the only reason that I bought Alariel is because what was it? Is it Quest for the Everqueen? Is that the name of the book? But yeah, that's all centered around my Stormcast army. But then she's in it, and it's almost like that's what kind of grows the narrative in it as well. Whereas potentially, right, we're in COVID, it's not really possible. But you know, there's nothing holding back from, like, hopefully when we get into narrative games, it doesn't matter what army you collect, you can play on the table exactly what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And in terms of fluff, I mean, you know, you're saying there's so much out there. I mean, we're forgetting about a lovely piece as well. There's Return of Gotrek, played by Brian Blessed. I mean, who's not going to enjoy that? It's absolutely fantastic, you know.
Some of those one-liners, just hearing Brian Blessed say them is, it's a dream.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, granted, the whole time I'm going, Gordon's alive, but there we are.
So Martin now is struggling with these references, which I love.
Yeah, I've literally here it's like, what?
Gordon's alive is a Flash Gordon reference, and actually that's, well, I mean, yeah, for a long time.
Martin.
I don't do background. I just play dinosaurs.
Just go onto Netflix. I'm sure Flash Gordon's on there and watch it.
That's before my time.
Definitely is, yeah. There's no arguing that.
Star Wars was before your time. I'm sure you enjoy that.
Martin, how old are you?
29.
Flash Gordon's not before your time.
Everything's before your time.
Power Rangers was my time.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Now, Pokemon's before your time.
Right. I'm going to throw a stone in the pond now. Do you think Age of Sigmar should copy 40k and go to smaller tables?
I think that they have gone the right way about it for the smaller tables. Is instead of changing the whole meta of the game to go to smaller tables, they branched off with a game like Warcry, where it is played on a smaller table. And I mean, just going back to your question earlier, anybody who's on the fence maybe about Age of Sigmar, for a cheap buy-in, go out and get a Warcry warband and play Warcry. You can literally play it on a coffee table, and it gives you the kind of dynamic of the game, a taster, let's say, of the game, in the space of an hour and a half, as opposed to 2 hours, 3 hours, maybe 4 hours the first time you ever play a game of Age of Sigmar. But no, I don't think that they should go to the smaller tables, but I like what they've done with the branch off games as such, and say, right, you know, you can play this on a coffee table.
So I think where I see it, I'm probably one of those few gamers that just takes whatever Games Workshop does and says, cool, all right, we'll run with that. So whenever there's a new change, so last year when I was playing Disciples of Zinch and Ossiarch Bone Reapers, and then both got hit with a nerf stick hard, I, instead of sort of throwing it out the window, I went, okay, cool, all right, I'll play Crematorians now for a laugh instead then. And it's one of those things, I'm a firm believer in only really worry about the things you can control, and me not wanting tables to get smaller isn't going to affect what Games Workshop does. They're going to, we're still going to do it. And that's fine by me. I like the look of those cardboard tables. And actually anything that means I'll be able to game easier at home is fine by me. And anything that means that a corner army can hit something in the face quicker, what's not good about
that? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I play on the small tables too often, and it speeds up the game that much more. Because someone's not just sat out backfield for 3 turns walking up. It's literally straight in, let's go. Sort of thing. Yeah. And I think it definitely does help close combat armies for 40k. And obviously with Sigma, I reckon that's what's struggling down there. So small tables definitely would help more combat armies.
Yeah, I mean there was scope for it, because I mean we had that the meet and engagement tournament, and that was on a smaller table. And it was kind of weird playing it, wasn't it? It was I think it confused all of us, but it was a nice change.
I like the size of the game. What I didn't like was you split your army into 3, and then potentially you're like, all right, I'll put that part of my army in that section, and then you don't see it till turn 2 or 3, and it's like by that time everything's happened. And it did give a good though. I have to.
Weird event. That was a really weird event.
It was.
Did that as well, Steve?
Was that? Yeah, we played against it. I thought it was a fun dynamic, and I thought all of us probably got confused by it. But it was one of those things. I thought the more you did it, the more you'd get used to it, and the more you'd learn how to use it. But yeah, but the point is, it gives you scope to play on a smaller table if that's what you're looking for.
I missed that event, unfortunately.
You
Yeah,
did miss out. You missed it. It was wonderful.
Do you remember why?
I remember exactly why, but we're not going to talk
Disgusting.
about
Yeah, we're not. Yeah.
Doubles tournament, 40k.
it. That's what he says.
That's what it was.
He's actually a convention dressed up as Red Ranger.
Pink Ranger, keep it quiet.
What's this Red Ranger you're talking about? I don't know.
I've heard about people that dress up at the weekend, but I didn't know it was that.
So, with Sigmar, what do you think puts people off playing it?
No idea, because I play it.
Yeah.
Big muscle bound men with loincloths on, running around the table. I don't know.
I think for me nowadays, I think 40k, there's a lot more going on social media and things like that. So if you look at all of the games that come out on consoles and PC, they're normally, I'd say 90% of the time, they're 40k based.
Yeah.
Even if you look at the weights, sort of black library wise, there's a lot more happening 40k wise than there is for Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar is a newer game, I get that. But what I think it's fair to say is that the player base is growing. There's a lot happening. You just have to look at our local store and look how popular it's getting. I dare to say there have been times, especially over the lockdown period, that Age of Sigmar has proven a better seller for our local store than 40k has.
I would say look at if you say you were to go on Mad for Miniatures page and scroll down, you see the percentage of posts in regards to completed, in progress, etc., models is definitely heavier on Age of Sigmar there.
It's definitely more of a painter up.
That raises what I said earlier about Sigmar being more of a hobbyist game, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because everyone I know who plays 40k is literally quite competitive. I don't know many people who play like narrative games.
And I think for me, that's one of the reasons I prefer Age of Sigmar. I had that time where I was being hyper competitive, traveling around the country, going to tournaments, and that isn't why I game anymore. I am older now, I've got a family, spend 60 to 80 hours working a week. So when I get hobby time, I want to make sure I'm really enjoying it. If you had an actual harp, violin, I'd be more impressed. But yeah, no, so I'd rather enjoy it and have fun. So what I don't like are people that pull that guy thing and start being hyper competitive, because that isn't why I game. I game to have fun. If stuff happens, it's why I'm using Skaven. I've killed half of my own army.
Yeah. I think with the word competitive, you got to be careful, because obviously quite a lot of people play competitive, but they're not being that guy. That's just two players, and that's how they enjoy playing. They want to try and be outsmart, do the tactics.
Yeah, I should have sort of said that at the beginning. I don't ever go into a game planning to lose, even when I've been playing with my kids. I don't let them beat me if they beat us off their own merit.
Yeah, I mean, no point, is there? But
so my partner has played one war game ever. So she detests the hobby, even though she's very good at buying hobby-related presents, which does make me laugh. But she can't stand the hobby. But I convinced her to play a game of Warcry when it first came out, and she absolutely annihilated me, and then said, "I'm not doing it again." So we were talking about this in our hobby hangout, I think it was last week. She's just playing it smart. She wants to retire her gaming career with 100% wins.
Yeah.
But the point is, like I said, I've never gone into a game thinking, I'm just gonna lose this. But I just want to have fun. So, for example, I would go to a tournament with an army of Gloomspite Geds. I would go to a tournament with a Clan Eshin army if I could get hold of the models. Yeah. I would, and I wouldn't care who was attending that tournament, because the biggest part for me is having fun and hanging out with mates. Yeah, that's why I like this hobby. As why I like the Age of Sigmar group is because actually everyone's pretty chilled, apart from you, Martin, who's like hyper comp all the time.
How dare you?
Aggro.
Not aggro, just don't come up with any bullshit.
Oh no, but Martin,
There's a difference.
tell you what, here's one for like here's one especially like for you for Age of Sigmar. How happy were you that in a game that essentially was we were just having a bit of fun, and you come up to the table and said, "Oh, my Barney dinosaur guy's got this move, like, but it never goes on." And I actually saw you jump for joy because on your first strike, on your first attack, with arguably one of the most powerful models in the game, you killed him instantly.
And he enjoyed that so much. He filmed that dice roll and sent it to me.
Yeah. But that, I mean, that is like, you know, how the whole dynamic of the game changed after that, and like, you know, it's that's what I like about it. Is you know, even if you can come up with a very competitive list or a very different list or anything like that, but you cannot plan for the unexpected, let's say.
So for those who watch it and you don't know what happened there, I'll just give you a little summary. So on cell phone you have a artifact, and after you wound a monster a unit, you roll dice on a 5+ that model slate. So Mike there charging his 800 point Arconian or whatever it's called against my Carnosaur Old Blood. Didn't kill it. I got one attack, one wound, and I rolled a 5 up and killed it off the table.
I'm pretty sure every KO is now glaring at you for calling their champion Arconian.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my eyes twitching a little bit, but yeah, right.
I think, and again, I reckon you should be commenting on this, guys. I think that Martin needs to start listening to some of the fluff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really enjoyable. There's plenty of audiobooks out there. So there's no reason not to, you know.
Well, I tell you what, there's like even if you're not a person for buying the books and reading it or necessarily listen to it, there's some great YouTube videos videos. Summarize, I think Two Up Tough is the one that my general go-to for lore, because that's all he does is lore, and he'll summarize whole basically years and years of lore into an hour to basically catch you up, and like that's quite cool. Because obviously when I joined into the gaming side of things, I wanted to catch up with the lore, but so much has happened over the years, it's quite a lot to take in.
I think, and again, I reckon Martin will thank me for saying this, post in the comments, who wants to see the Bugle Bat Reps book club?
That's good.
Why not?
Guaranteed.
With celebrity guest readers.
The only book I ever read was Harry Potter, so you know.
So, welcome to Story Time with Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we all know Harry Potter was just a disciple of Sinch, so there we are. It's fine.
The Liberator thrust his hammer into the face of the corn, splintering bone, spraying blood. I could see that being a thing, Matt. You just started something.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'll get on to record you one, Martin. I'll send it over.
Yeah. It'd be like a bedtime story for me, Steve. It'd be lovely.
I just want to put my dinosaurs on the table and roll some dice. That's all I'm doing.
No, it'll be something different to dinosaurs next time.
Yeah, you wait. You wait.
Ogre's the way to go.
I reckon
Go all
for his eye.
Yeah.
Oh, those ones you got, the big giant ones. I'm never going to play them. It's pretty much Imperial Knights for 40k. I can't stand playing Knights.
I reckon Sylvaneth. I could see you using an army of sneaky, devious trees.
Yeah, if you like painting trees, Martin, Sylvaneth's the way to go.
The only reason I'm interested in trees is because I'm Groot. And they're easy to pay today.
I could very much see you with a tree man calling him Groot as well. Yeah.
Actually would.
Yeah. I know.
This is my first tree man called Groot. This is my second tree man, the spirit of Groot.
And here's my baby one, Baby Groot.
There's a model of a squirrel. It's not quite a raccoon, but you know it's close enough.
Yeah,
I was thinking, what could you use a rocket raccoon? I couldn't.
Acorn to make it stand in.
There you go. Yeah.
So, one of the things I do like about Sigma is like the hits and to wounds and stuff like that. So you can just open your page, but that's what my model's got to do. Whereas 40k, you got to compare yours to his, and you're not sure what you're meant to be doing. There's minuses.
Yeah, it's so easy. You just jump in and away you go. It's, you don't even need to think really.
Black and white.
Which then leaves you a lot more time for them thinking about what you're actually tactically doing on the table, rather than just going, "Oh, what's this and what's that?" It's much better.
I've had quite a lot of 40k new players in the last couple of years, like getting started, and you try and explain like this is the hit, but then you're negative here or you're getting crossed off here. Whereas Sigma, you bust out your little battle cards, alongside the table, right? This what I need a 4 to hit, 5 to wound, etc.
Jobs are good.
God, I think that's bad. You should have gone back to Warhammer Fantasy, messing around with wheel units and oh my god, it was.
Yes, I still remember spending hours and hours and hours sort of thinking, oh yeah, I can make this unit of orc boys that really dynamic, exciting, but they won't rank up now on their movement trait.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know what you're missing, Martin.
Yeah,
that's another thing. Obviously, like your weapons and your outloads, it's very much like 10 models. They all have that. Whereas 40k, you got unit 5. One's got this gun. One's got that gun. One's got this weapon. You look at that many different profiles.
There are exceptions within that. I mean, Zangors are a perfect example. You can have a couple of them with great weapons. You've got a mutant, a twist spray. So there's variation within it. A lot of units are like that, but then there's also a lot that aren't. So
it's a lot more prescriptive, which again I think it's good for new players, but it helps tactically because you start to understand your opponent's armies that little bit better.
Yeah,
and that is half the game, is knowing what your opponent's got. And I would always prefer to win a game fairly than win a game because my opponent didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So. And again, I think that comes down to the reason I love this hobby is a lot of it's around that interaction, communication. And I'm a people person. I like talking to people. So, I've always have done. So this game is what I like. And that's because you have to talk. Otherwise the game won't work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's
the only reason like me and Toby got dragged into Sigma with you at the beginning, just because it was fact of being like social about it.
Yeah.
Neither of us had any interest in fantasy or what Sigma was, but it was like it's another game, it's another like Saturday hanging out playing games. So
I mean, Martin, we never spoken, had we, before you sort of started getting into Age of Sigma?
No, you come and stalk some events, but I was like, who's that geezer?
Well, that's because I knew a lot of the people there from days of old.
I'm not a day of old person, mate. I'm new generation.
So you've mentioned. But yeah, no, and I mean that sort of whole thing again was sort of building on that community. So you were posting in the group, you were posting the fact that you had started Age of Sigmar, which is how obviously I knew you were keen to join in, and so far we've got a really active Age of Sigmar community, and I just hope it's going to keep growing. I know you've had a few guests on your channel that aren't in our local group. I'm hoping we can get them involved in the future.
Everyone wants to come on Beagle Backgrounds, mate.
Yeah.
Still waiting for the silver-haired fox to make an appearance.
I'll be there, don't worry. Who knows? Maybe even with Sons of Behemoth.
I really hope I beat you on camera. It'll make my day.
Does that mean I need to bring my Skaven in so you can really enjoy it when you do beat them?
Even I'd be more if I beat Skaven on camera. I'd be like orgasmic.
I don't know why you hate them so much. They have themselves just as much as in fact that game that I had against it. Yes, it ended in my favour, but I killed just as much of my stuff as you did.
I don't have nothing to play with first turn. I think you killed what? You must kill 50 skinks and 2 bastardons.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Did you use Croak?
No.
Ah, there you go. Then that's your mistake.
I'm not a competitive player, see?
Not a competitive player.
How many Bastillodons do you own, Martin?
Three.
Yeah,
Venusaurs, mate. Venusaurs.
I can vouch for them. They are evil. They are.
Just ignore them. Pretend they're not there. Or,
Yeah, but better yet, kill them.
point warp lightning guns at them. They don't like them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't like any mortal wounds.
No, that's it. Yeah, if you chuck enough firepower into them, they go down eventually.
So Martin, I've got a question for you. If you could collect any other Age of Sigmar army, what would it be? Why?
Trees.
Okay.
Yeah. Why
And
not?
it's about the play style that appeals to you.
Do we want to mention that you stole my army idea? You was one going, I reckon you should get Skaven. He's talking about Yukon Royals. I was like, oh, maybe in a bit. Next thing I know, he's got a Skaven army.
I was getting bored of you talking about it, and then I was starting to get nostalgic from back when I didn't have any grey hair. I thought, oh, you know what? Those models are exactly the same. I'll just paint them again.
What you need to realise, Martin, that as soon as Matt gets an idea about an army in his head, that's it. The next day he's mad for miniatures.
No. It's changed. The next day, Mad Miniatures is now at my house.
But that is the great thing about Age of Sigmar, is there are so many exciting factions. I mean, I think any one of us could quite happily play just about any army on there, really. Yeah. I would quite happily play with any army.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't want to paint any army, but I definitely like to play most of them, you know. So there we are.
I think the only thing you won't see me using on the table ever is Harkuron Dark Elves, because I was planning on doing this. But I did not enjoy building them. And Rage Quit and sold them all. Literally, I think I was talking to Steve and Mike at the time. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore.
It was literally, I think it was in the same day you posted me a picture of the Black Dragon, and then a couple hours later it's like, that's it, I'm not doing them anymore. I was like, what? Yeah, doing Stormcast. Oh, okay, all right.
Which seems crazy to me, because how are you coping with the horrible shoulder pads?
Oh, do you know what? I've got a system with those shoulder pads, and actually it's covered them up well.
Yeah.
So it's an old school trick. So you do the old scrape down from both sides first. So I think that was a Duncan trick that you did in the Nagash video.
Yeah.
So it puts a lot of the extra plastic into that gap, but then use the liquid polycement to essentially melt it.
Yeah.
And then take the round file to it again once that's dry, and you can't tell.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah.
It's a bit more work, but
I was going to say, every time I see him, though, it kills me. I look at it, I think, who okayed that design? It was just it's shocking.
Yeah. The line right down the middle of the emblem. Who said yes to that?
I mean, that's just like, is it that hard to just stick a shoulder pad on top rather than splitting it down the middle? Surely not. But there we are. That's
going from building those older models, I mean, especially that dragon, that I probably used more green stuff on that black dragon than I have on anything combined in the last 3 years. And I've built quite a few Forge Red models in the last few years as well, so that says something. But yeah, going from that to then putting some push fit Stormcast together was a dream.
Yeah, I must admit, I kind of like the dragon, but it was also looking a bit dated, wasn't it? Really, there's so many nice new models out there, and it's just
I've got a few of them sat around me right now.
very good.
There's a lot happening this year as well, and I'm really interested to see where they're going to take the Broken Realms fluff. I know, Martin, you're not a fluff guy, but it's quite an exciting time to be in the Mortal Realms.
He's going to be on the table.
I'm hoping so. So I reckon I'll have 2,000 points of Hammers of Sigmar ready for the summer, when hopefully Sigmar himself is going to grace the table.
I reckon he'll be 1,000 points, but he can summon like 2 units every turn or something like that.
Well, I don't even care if he summons anything. I want him to fly out of the sky so I can play Thunderstruck over and over again. Because
Very good.
Just a heads up to all three of you. If you ever play my Stormcast, every time I bring a unit out of the heavens, we'd have to listen to the entirety of Thunderstruck.
I'm okay with that. I'm all right. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So, on that note, tournament play.
Love it.
I don't think we see enough of it. This is obviously pre-COVID.
I was going to say, you're asking the question.
Pre-COVID. 40k, you always see big events like 24-man events kicking around and stuff like that. I think Age of Sigmar, you don't really see events like that.
There are plenty of really big events, just not in Cornwall.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are. You have to go far over, sort of into Devon. You start seeing the bigger events. I think one of the reasons was there wasn't a huge competitive scene, and that being competitive as in they want to play lots of games in a day. In Cornwall, that's changed, and I think actually the appetite for it's grown over this lockdown period. So I think we will start seeing them when we can start playing games together. Even looking at our COVID safe event, I mean, we put 12 on it, and we sold that out. So
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of potential now. We just need to get on the other side of the pandemic.
I'd take part in like a 24-man Sigma event.
Yeah,
I've done 40k one, but never.
I cannot wait for it, and it will happen because what's it? That 12 that filled up the last tournament, there's still plenty of people that didn't join in.
We've got different groups as well, so which is good. And obviously, like I said, we've seen guests that Martin's had on that aren't in our gaming group, which I'm sure also have friends they game with. So bit of networking. Who doesn't love a bit of networking? And Martin says he's played events. I remember playing in the European Team Championship of War Machine Hordes, and there were hundreds of people there from around Europe. Probably one of the best weekends of my life. And I still talk to some of the guys that I met from Denmark now.
Yeah.
And in that event, I played terribly that whole weekend. Darren will test. I had quite a bad eye infection, so I could barely see by the end of the event, but still had an awesome time because I was just having a laugh.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. I want to have fun when I'm gaming. I'm not here to be stressed. Just
one of my things I would do when this whole COVID thing's over is definitely go to like Warhammer World for a weekend for like 6 and both 40k.
Yeah, that's
definitely a good call.
Either get a coach to go up or something like that. I'm sure it won't cost too much if you get enough people on it.
Team Admin Miniatures should go to Warhammer World. Say it now.
Yeah, definitely.
I've already been sussing this out. It works out cheaper to fly into Manchester and get a train into Nottingham.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Well, the one and only time.
Yeah, that was pre-pandemic. Anything could have happened since then.
The one and only time that I went there was when I was visiting my father-in-law in Birmingham, and I was like, "Oh, I've got an afternoon free," and it was literally an hour and 15-minute journey there and an hour and 15-minute back. But it's the best 2.5-hour drive that I've ever had just to walk around there,
Me and all my guys on the channel, we all meant to go last year, but then COVID struck in March there, and everything stopped.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
One day.
Yeah, that's it. One day we'll all get the vaccine and be able to be normal human beings. So, yeah, there we go. We're talking about, talking about large events. I mean, I don't see why you couldn't have a decent event down in Cornwall. I mean, okay, there's a lot of people that will turn around and go, "Oh, it's miles away from anywhere," but then it's also got the fact that it is Cornwall as a draw. There's loads of people that would love to come down here and go to a tournament and then maybe kick around on the beach and enjoy the fact that we've got the seaside here. It's a double draw, isn't it? Really.
When I used to run the War Machine Hordes events, I used to have sort of players come down regularly from Wales. They used to come down. I even had one guy that used to come down every few months from Scotland because he enjoyed our events, like coming to Cornwall. And we used to regularly have sort of 36-player events, and there were no issues. So we'll get there, guys. We'll get there.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if there's a lot of crossover with the surfing community and the Warhammer community. It's bound to be there, isn't it? Really. So,
I find with Warhammer that it's like people literally all backgrounds. There's someone who likes Warhammer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
You just have to look at Henry Cavill painting his custodes, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. There's all sorts. Yeah.
I tried getting on Bugle Back Raps. Still getting on. Twice.
Yeah. If it's all right for Superman, it's all right for me.
Yeah. Anything else Sigma related you guys want to bring up?
It's not quite Sigmar, but we're talking about Blood Bowl coming up, aren't we? So
Yes. Yes. So, and again, this was sort of one of those. No, it wasn't a spur of the moment thing. That's not quite right. So I played Blood Bowl a lot when I was younger. Even my mum was playing Blood Bowl at one point, and we had quite a big league. And so some of my fondest gaming memories are sort of playing Blood Bowl until like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. When it came back in 2016, played it quite a bit. Both my daughters were playing it, but that was just before I went sort of back AOS heavy. And when they brought out the second season edition, Mum was like, "Oh, Christmas money, go and get that." So I picked it up. I haven't unsealed it yet, for good reason, in that I had lots of hobby deadlines that I needed to crack on with. But I really want to get that going again. It turns out as well from that post, we've got a lot of people that are into it. I think part of it is the fact that you can just have a team, and that's it. It's quite simple to learn. Don't get me wrong, it's hard to master, especially if you wanting to start using halflings and snotling teams. They are definitely
up for the halflings. Yeah,
they are definitely. Yeah, I would say I've got the halflings in that cupboard there, ready to go. Yeah, they're going to be the Portland Tater haters. But I've played most of the teams in my time. It's just such a fun game, and I think part of it, and Martin, I really, really impressed upon you to go and investigate, is the humour involved in it.
It is hilarious. Yeah.
It's very, a lot of the marketing they've done is funny. A lot of the game as well. I don't know if you've ever played sort of the Xbox version or PlayStation, if that is indeed your tipple. Again, that comedy's still there.
Yeah,
I'm online about it.
It's so much.
I'm online about it.
Yeah, it's so much so that you've even got the god of Blood Bowl is Nuffle.
Nuffle, yeah.
Nuffle, the god. Yeah. So I don't know if anyone's into American football. That's NFL. So Nuffle. So there we are.
No, it's so Steve, I know obviously you're a fan of the halflings as well.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, it's pasties. It's all about the pasties, really, isn't it?
Right. Mike, am I right in thinking you actually do technically own portions of the Snotling team, but you've turned them into other bits and pieces?
I've still got half, so I only used literally half of it because I think every team is just a double sprue, isn't it? So I've used one of the. I still have a full sprue left for the Snotlings.
Although don't get me wrong, if you're just stepping into Blood Bowl and you're going to use Snotlings, unless the other person's using halflings, you're going to struggle. But what I will say is you will have a lot of fun. One of the reasons I like halflings and the other little guys is because if you take a big guy and you can pick up that little guy with the ball and throw the little guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Martin, imagine Groot picking up Rocket, who's holding a rugby ball, and then throwing him up the field. What's not to love?
We'll see.
Yeah. And of course, then there's also
I'm a busy man.
Of course, then you've got goblins as well. You've got all sorts of sneaky tricks as well. So
and chainsaws.
Chainsaws, yeah, that's it. And
chainsaws.
Yeah, chainsaws. Yeah, of course, yeah.
Chainsaws, doom divers.
Mike's getting swayed there. Goblins with chainsaws.
Dwarves bring a steamroller onto the pitch.
Yeah, oh, that's nasty. So, yeah, it's hilarious. Absolutely lunatic.
I'm pretty sure my daughter's just fallen off her bed as well, which is quite funny.
Thinking about a dwarven steamroller.
Well, George, she was a really good Blood Bowl player when she was younger. She had a human team, and she was adept at fouling. Let's put it that way. Quite often, gang up on me on the sidelines and push me off the pitch, so I get beaten up by the crowd.
Yeah, that's it. One of the things about Blood Bowl is just learning sounds bad, but learning not to get too excited. Make sure you do all the things that you can easily do without failing first.
Yes.
You may well be right on top of a touchdown, but don't rush and do the touchdown. Get all the rest of it sorted, because you can bet your life that you're going to go to pick up the ball, drop it, and that's it. Turn over, and you're going to get squished.
When you trip over your shoelaces, drop the ball.
Yeah, and that's it. Because that's one of the mechanics of Blood Bowl, is that as soon as you fail any action, it's turnover.
Yeah.
And that's it. So it makes you really think about what you're going to do.
What's safe?
Yeah, exactly.
What's safe and what's urgent? What do I definitely need to do? It's sort of, it's really good for prioritizing a muddled mind, I think.
Yeah.
I got a clue what you're talking about. If you're watching this thinking, what are you talking about? I'm with you.
If you're looking at it thinking, what are we talking about? Investigate Blood Bowl. It's hilarious. It's good fun. It's a great game.
And the models are awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So some of that is, if you're interested in Blood Bowl, go and have yuck.
Yeah, that's all I'm sure of it.
For miniatures.
Martin will be playing it soon after he's finished editing the first episode of Bugle Bat Reps Book Club.
Number one is definitely not happening. People don't understand me as it is, so let alone reading the book.
Chapter 2.
Yeah, I had one comment on video saying, what language was he speaking?
You'll have to get a special guest narrator.
Yeah, you can always do subtitles, Martin, if it comes to it.
Yeah, people don't know what like Wasson and directly and all that means.
Yeah, well, you got all those Emmets, didn't you?
Yeah.
There.
So I'm going to pour it back to Sigma.
Oh yeah,
because that's going to be a topic here. Terrain, Sigma.
Yeah.
Discuss.
I love the factor specific terrain pieces that come out. What I don't like is they seem to be limited run. Most of them seem to be limited run.
How often do we see tables with no terrain on? You see like posts on Facebook or bit videos and the table's just empty.
I don't know. You sometimes see some tables that haven't got any. You other see some other tables that have got far too much.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things. It's good to have a healthy variety. I mean, if you could imagine any sort of real battlefield, there would be some battlefields that didn't have much terrain, and that's just how it is. You got to learn to be able to roll with it. Yeah.
I think some of the reasons why you sometimes see open fields is maybe people don't understand the terrain in Sigma, because there is quite a lot of different rules to it. And it does.
Yeah.
I think one of the interesting mechanics for Age of Sigmar is the sort of the terrain effects. Now, we don't always use them in our local group. I think it's because we've got a lot of new players and it's a lot of extra rules, like you said, to try and remember. But actually, the idea of having those random effects rolled off in each piece of terrain, it does sort of put an interesting spin on it. I know we all played a round last year in Actually, didn't we? When we had all the terrain exploding.
Yeah.
So the idea of having each item of terrain and say we're having a different set of rules, as long as you had some sort of way of marking it, I can imagine it'd be quite interesting. I do fully expect the next edition of Age of Sigmar to have some more comprehensive rules when it comes to terrain, so more specific things around what a hill would do. We've got bits of walls and fences, but bringing back some of that.
If you think about how many games you played and you come to that bit where you're like, am I getting a cover save there, or what's this? I don't know. What's this meant to be doing?
Yeah,
for sure.
What's interesting is that Age of Sigmar's got some really cool terrain kits out there at the minute. I mean, the Warcry stuff's awesome. I've got all the sort of the Shattered Stormvault stuff, which I think is some of the coolest stuff Games Workshop's made. I just want to see some more rules for it. Like you said, it could add some really interesting spins to games, and anything that makes a game more exciting, more interesting is good by me.
Yeah, but then I mean, you don't even need to go down necessarily the road of doing all the GW stuff. It's so easy to make your own terrain, or like you've done, Martin, pick up stuff from an aquarium, and it looks great. But why not? It works. It's
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I'm forever sort of making terrain out of bits of expanded foam. I mean, I've got no, that's probably not a good example. I've got one that I've been kind of working on with just expanded foam here that it's taken forever. But it's you know, you take that, then just put some textured paint over it, and it's so easy to make some really cool terrain like that. And it could be any sort of thing, you know, any sort of theme that you want to do. Bang, it's there. So
Yeah, I think as well, anything that adds to the game and adds to that sort of storytelling element, I think is really good. I know Martin's going to comment on what I'm about to say, but I hate using unpainted models.
What colour was Skaven mapped?
What colour are they now is the important thing.
What colour was they faced me?
Sure, I'll come back to that in a second after I've made my point. So, you know, I think a lot of people get into this hobby for that sort of storytelling aspect. You know, I want to know what my soldiers are doing on the battlefield. I don't necessarily want to know what my soldiers are doing on the green piece of carpet with a teacup or whatever it is. Sorry, I want to know what they're doing in action, and I want to be able to sort of visualize that. But that point you just made about my Grey Skaven, I did a post out saying who wants to take on my test army, and you bit. So I do apologise. But what I would like to point out is I did then paint, what was it, nearly 3,000 points of Skaven in 2 months to make up for that, because you wouldn't let me forget about it.
Paid a grey army.
He still mentions it now.
Yeah.
I don't know. 3,000 points though. That sounds like guilt, doesn't it? Though.
Tiffany Finch stirring in the background.
What can I help? Well, you know, it's just as planned, isn't it?
Just as broken, more like.
Well, that's why I'm trying to go for Zangors, because they're definitely not broken. And to be fair, I like the models more. So, you know, there we are.
Are you going to get an Ogroid Thaumaturge?
I've got one kicking around somewhere. I painted it ages ago, and I could repaint it because, I'll be honest, it wasn't one of my best jobs, but I'm probably not going to. But no, I'm probably going to go down possibly Zangors and maybe sort of a flying wing. I kind of like the idea of Host Arcanum and then sort of Zangar sort of mixed in. So it'd be as fast as you like, but not very many models. But yeah, it could be fun. Could be fun. I don't know how hard it'll hit, but that's half the fun.
Is that what you're going to build during the Tale of Warlords this year?
That's roughly the plan of it. I don't know how good it's going to be, but in fact, I've got a horrible feeling it's going to be really awful, but I don't care. I like the models. So.
Well, you could definitely say the same about mine. I do not think that an army made out of Warcry warbands is going to be much good.
Yeah.
It's going to look damn pretty, I'll tell you that.
Well, I would say the majority of my Tale of Warlords is going to be a Stormcast Warrior Chamber, and we all know how competitive they are.
There's got to be a new book coming sooner or later.
I'm not saying there's not any sacrosanct units in there, because that would be a lie. I do obviously own a bit, well, more Celestar ballistas than anyone wants to see on the table. But
that would be Skaven all over again, would it not, Mark?
Well, no, the added advantage of these is that they can essentially deep strike.
Yeah,
I was going to say they're not Skaven because there's no chance that they'll blow themselves up.
No, they'll land exactly where I want them to and shoot exactly what I want them to, in style with in the background.
Coordinator next to them as well.
Martin's like, what are they talking about?
Yeah, Chris.
So Martin, imagine 4 bolt throwers appearing exactly where I need them to on the battlefield. So you've not been able to shoot them in the first turn, which you would normally do to a threat like that. They've appeared with a unit that would buff them, also next to them, to then unleash, holy is the right word, holy hell upon your army. So there are 2 different ways of firing. There's a sort of a more powerful bolt, or there's a little bolt, but each one of those hits still then inflicts D6 hits.
Every hit is
You're bringing my point back up about there's been too much shooting in Sigma.
There's scope for it to be too much shooting, but then there's plenty of scope for that. With any, I mean, Zinch has perfect example. I could have a very shooty army. Yeah, I'm thinking about building a melee based army, and I've got scope to chuck in some shooty units if I want, but I want to explore something different.
Yeah, have that Zinch combat army led by Archaon though, and then watch him put all the people in the sword. Get in the sword. Get in the sword.
Well,
Yeah.
I suppose to an extent, Martin, just going back to the point you're making is, look at your last video you put up. Don't be that guy. There's a lot of things you could do in Age of Sigmar that could be extremely just competitive or just ruin it for everyone else. But you know what? If you're going to be that guy, you're
I
probably
can mention some.
positions like. Right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that I have got 40 Lumineth archers and not 80, for example, and that's because it would, 40. I still think is ridiculous.
Because he don't want to paint them.
That is the reason. Have you ever seen my Lumineth on the table?
No, but I've seen some stunning pictures of them.
Yeah, well, that's it. So it took me the same amount of time to paint 10 Lumineth Wardens as it did to paint the 3,000 points of Skaven. You tell me which you'd rather do.
Not collect Skaven.
Yeah.
Wow, I just love them. They're so cute and unreliable,
Fluffy and bitey, and
I've got a model in my Skaven army that's 22 years old.
is it? And it's still being sold today. I'm thinking the rat ogres, and rat ogres are still being sold today, and they haven't.
It's the rattling gun. I have a metal model in my Age of Sigmar army.
Can I pick it up and chuck it at your head?
So you kill him.
I'd just like to point out the statement at the top there. So you are welcome to try. Yeah.
Well, let's go on to some positives.
Models.
What have been some highlights for you guys during your Sigma playing time?
My favourite one was your revenge game on me after the first one. So I took a Khorne army that was very demon heavy and ran it across the table at 2 Bastiladons. Now, what was funny is I was expecting the Bloodthirster to die turn 1. It actually survived till turn 3 because he couldn't take the last wound off. And I lost that game horribly, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, Martin backed me. I was laughing the whole way through. It was like, yeah, and it was just because it was. I know you were enjoying it, obviously, because you were lasering Khorne demons off the table.
Yeah.
But there was just something about the futility. I knew I was going to die, but I was like, well, I'm going to try and cause as much damage as I could. And don't get me wrong, I think I killed a few Saurus with that Bloodthirster when he touched home, didn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just, I just had visions of this sort of no wings left, one arm, tattered Bloodthirster lashing out at anything and just refusing to die, which is what a Bloodthirster would be like.
I think that was like round 2, was it?
I can't remember. All I remember is that, well, like I said, there was no way I could do anything. You were quite a gracious winner. You could have been.
I remember I was out here. I was like, I want Matt. I want fucking take his Budgebusters down. I was like, give me him. And then I got you. I was like, yes.
The round before that, the Bloodthirster pretty much wiped out Mike's whole army, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I rolled hot. It was horrible, which is why.
That was my first ever game. Saying that though,
But then that's that rage thirster for you. It's so swingy. It is. I mean, when it's good, it's great. When it's bad, it's just go home. You know.
Yeah. So it's that I think that's the biggest one for me. And again, it's just the new friends that I've made as part of this group. So
yeah, that's quite nice. Yeah.
I'm so happy.
Oh, bless you.
I liked.
Well, there you go.
that's what I mean for me. Like literally, this Age of Sigmar for me all started with a painting competition at Mad for Miniatures, and the rest is history.
Yeah, definitely. I've enjoyed the social aspect of it. It's really nice just getting to know a group of like minds, you know, and Yeah, we've had some great games. You know, some we've won, some we've lost, but we've had a laugh along the way on all of them. So it's been good.
And a few tears.
Few tips, wow, yeah. Especially when Matt says, "Oh, the friends he's made."
The only tears from me were from when I found out that the KFC vegan burger wasn't an all-year thing.
Not an all-year thing.
It's not an all-year thing, is it, Mike?
It is staying now. It's staying for good now.
Well, hey, get on.
Okay.
Sorry, you got two.
Cry away.
Yeah.
What about you, Martin?
Is you getting my payback on you?
I knew that.
I remember the first game you turned up in your suit and you rinsed my little starter box. So when I come to the tournament, I was just like, I want him. Had some Bastidons on my list. I was just like, going for him. There's that, or I think the most like what the fuck moment was definitely me killing Mike's 800-point model.
Yeah.
Do you know, I really thought that you were going to mention the both your Bastidons dying in turn 1 as your highlight, so I'm a bit disappointed there. Right? That hurt.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna guess. Talking about highlights. Another highlight was talking about you killing Archaon. Was me getting a revenge for him in my game against you. With a lowly exalted flamer. Shot him off. Goodbye. See you later, Barney.
Since that happened, everyone just is out for Barney now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You cannot take, you cannot take the Ever-Chosen out and not expect there to be some backlash. It's just going to happen.
You can't think choose that name, call it Arcanonon or whatever it was earlier.
Honestly, I feel sorry for Barney already.
Literally every game now, first turn, everyone's going for Barney.
Hey, you've got a brilliant distraction card effects there.
Exactly. It works.
There we are. Right.
Tumbleweed.
Yeah.
I think that's about everything on my list.
Nice. Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to add before we wrap it up?
Just that I guess that means it's time to go and start building these.
Yeah.
I think one last thing about anybody who's watching this that has been thinking about it, isn't sure about it, anything like that. I mean, that was me 2 years ago thinking, do I play? Because I actually first started talking to Matt through a professional sense.
Yeah.
And then it was like, do you collect Warhammer? It was like, yeah. It was like, oh, so do I. I was like, oh my god, there's another person. And then lo and behold, I stepped my toe into this world of amazing people, essentially. But if you ever wanted to play the game, there's only one piece of advice I can give you: is just go to a tournament. Is the best way to start doing it.
Yeah.
On
Because
the aspect, I think there are a lot of nervous people out there.
Yeah.
I think definitely in our local area, we've had people who start playing, got some armies, but maybe a bit nervous about playing in a tournament aspect.
So don't be. Yeah, don't be. Yeah, one of the
Don't be.
advantages of
Everyone is so friendly. It's just ridiculous. You couldn't. I mean, usually in every group, there's usually a bad egg, somebody who's not that friendly. There isn't anyone. Everyone's really nice, and that's great.
the very first conversation Steve and I had was in a tournament in our first game, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
I was literally, yeah.
That's it.
So it's really interesting. So
once people get into it and start doing it, they realise there's nothing to be nervous or worried about.
No.
I think a lot of people maybe like they're not sure the rules. They don't want to hold people up and stuff like that.
Don't worry about rules. Everyone makes a mistake now and then. We all get it wrong regularly, actually, for some of us. And it doesn't matter because the whole point is to have fun.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, and it's going to sound cheesy, and so Martin's going to love this, is that you will make friends, and friends that will stick around. So if I look back over my sort of hobbying time, so I met Vinny when he had a stall as opposed to a shop. So Mad Miniatures wasn't sort of its fully fledged self that we all know and love now. It was a stall, and I've sort of been shopping with them ever since. So I've sort of seen the store grow. We've both sort of grown our families in that time. But it's remained friends the whole time. So again, I've got friends all around the country I made gaming, and they're the friends I've stayed in contact with. So if you look sort of back over your adult life, you'll look back at the friends you made at school that everyone says you don't tend to always stay in contact with them, but actually the gaming friends I have stayed in contact with, and they've been friends through thick and thin.
I can agree with that. Like, obviously, all the guys I do the channel with, we all went to school together. Obviously, as you get older, you start talking less and stuff like that. But doing Warhammer and stuff like that makes sure like we at least meet up, got something to talk about, and it keeps you interacted.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There you go.
So there you go. Play with little toy soldiers until you're old.
Yeah, why not?
Soldiers and toy soldiers is absolutely what I call it. It started off as my partner winding me up saying, "Oh, you don't know, play with your toy soldiers," but now I call it toy soldiers and own it.
Yeah.
I always say, "I'm just going upstairs for some nerd time, all right?" And she's like, "Yeah, that's fine, yeah."
Yeah. That's it. I said to my wife, "Well, at least I'm not looking at porn or something."
Yeah.
She says, "But are you?" No.
Before we wrap up, do you guys want to give your Instagrams a shout out? Because I know you guys all like appearing on that hobby sharing stuff.
I'm more of a Twitter guy myself.
I do.
Ninja 27.
I can't remember the number on the end of mine, so I will just tag Bat Rats in it and another day.
Yeah.
I am at ST3V3NB4RN3S. Bit of lead speak. That's Twitter.
We'll leave in the comments.
Yeah, do that. Yeah. There we are.
Cheers for all coming on, fellas.
Yeah. Cheers, Martin. Yeah.
And
Hope
we all see each other again soon. Hopefully, some Powerports.
Yeah.
Yes, with giants.
Yeah. Talking of which, you better get an airbrush if you're going to do one of those giants.
Wow.
Matt told me he's doing it all contrast, mate. Yeah.
Contrast. Oh my god, it's going to take you a decade.
No, I'm doing it with old school inks that I found in my house the other day, and I'm going to do it all using the 000 brush. And I'm going to hold the paintbrush in my mouth.
Yeah, like that.
Oh dear, I can hear the tears already.
Yeah, but that's it. If you give yourself a month to paint this army, because of the low model count, that's still a really decent amount of time to get a really.
Definitely not going to be a month. It's going to be a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
Because I'm still painting Stormcast as well.
Right. I think that's about it. So, you know what to say. Cheers and gone.
Cheers and gone.
Cheers and gone.
Very good.
So that's it for this week, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let us know in the comments what you think. Anything you want to add to our discussion. So, till next time. Cheers and gone.